En Butman laat zich opbrengen. Dus dat is ja. Ja, het is een hele stuk opbrengen. Vacation. Oh ja, 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 ja. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. We have an unbelievable privilege and pleasure tonight to have Tzidei Agudas Chabad. The Rebbe used to bring in Sukkot in honor of the Tzidei Agudas Chabad, Chabad Youth Organization. Us in which is the institution that Rebbe said to organize the Chabad houses, Chabad shuls in the tri-state area. Everyone knows Rabbi Butman from his columns in the Jewish press and other places, and for sure from the tallest menorah in the world. And have the privilege and pleasure tonight to have with L'chaim, L'chaim.
I'm not sure that this is how a pavilion starts, but L'chaim Shmuel. Get up for not to Babylon. Get up for blank. The head and the stone for the notion of it. And no head does not much of it out. L'chaim middle, L'chaim. Since mentioned, I'm sure that Yechanan mentioned of Bellingham. But I don't think he remembers it because he's not that age. But it is interesting that I think if anybody remembers, great and the Rebbe would bring him until the Mice in 770. And not only that, that's what I heard. Said Jason Talmud bring about the yeshivas. On the Verbringen was downstairs, I'm all in Shalash. He would always mention Michelelo, Simchas, Beis, Hashueva. The way he did it is that the convention of Tzach was in the afternoon, and the David would always tell me it was only a bokum then. That the Rebbe said that he would want to go, he would want to be at the convention of Tzach. However, because of circumstances, that is not possible. So therefore, what we should do every year was in the middle of the Rebbe's Fabelingen, the Rebbe would give him, there was a microphone, and the chairman of the Fabelingen, the Tzach convention, would give a report of the Fabelingen. And I remember if it's a Jerusalem, the Rebbe gehört the Yeshiv, and Amol given Gebiets for Gelonder, Gebiets for Gelonder, sag ich Jerusalem, Amol given it to me Gantel, and the Rebbe would listen. You know what it means? You have to talk in front of the Rebbe. And as I give Amol, I'll be surrounded. So maybe we can do a handshake. Which Yom Tov, without asking questions, which Yom Tov is more important? The Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or the Sukkot? So one would argue, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, was can sein anders? Aber es ist nur Maimon von Alten Leben. The Maimon von Alten Leben is in Likutei Torah. In Likutei Torah, if you want to check, there are 3 Maimonim that starts Ubayim Hashmini Atzeres. This is the first one. And in that Maimon, the Alter Rebbe says, Moshel the Melech had a son, and the Melech, for reasons known to the Melech, concealed himself from the sun. He starts with a posuk in Mishlei. The Shlomo Melech says, "Bein Chochom Yisamach O." So the Alter Rebbe explains, what does it mean? Bein Chochom Yisamach O. That this king had a son, and the Kesef decided to not to reveal himself to the son. He didn't look at him. Now, to the extent where the son he couldn't find the father. So now there are two ways that the son can react. One is my father doesn't want to see me. He doesn't want to see me. And if you know how today's kids are, if he doesn't want to see me, I don't want to see him either. Even more. So therefore, no problem. I'm going to go my way. He's going to go his way. The Ben Chochem, the Alter Rebbe says. The Ben Chochem father. What happened here? He's concealing himself from me. All of a sudden, it disappears. It's not that he doesn't like me. It's sign. A father doesn't like a son. No, but then there has to be a reason. The reason is this is the Ben Chochem that he wants me to look for him. And this is why he's concealing himself. Now, what happens if it's for him? And then he will find him. And then there's going to be a great simcha of the father and the son and the son and the father. This is what the Alter Rebbe says. And the Alter Rebbe says that the moshel, that this is the moshel, the nimshel is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah, it says bakese. And it says, I've seen this in many places. Bakese comes from the word kitzui. That Rosh Hashanah, you don't see. Godliness means godless. You have to look for him. It's got to be Dilshu Hashem. But you have to know that if you look for him, you're going to find him. It's not that he's concealing himself in a way that he doesn't want to be found. It's like a kid, a father plays with a kid. He wants to be found, but he wants the son to find him. And when the son finds him, then there's a simcha that then Chochem Yisamach Ov, that the father is happy with the son, and the son is happy with the father. And not only that, it says in Siddur Bakese Leyem Chagenu. What's made when is Yem Chagenu? Even the plus the Pshat Tilim. I don't know, however, Leyem Chagenu that goes on Sukkot. In other words, the only reason that there is Bakese on the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, in order that we should find him, and now we should rejoice together. Sukkot is Man Simchas. So simple Jew once asked, what means Man Simchas? So he said, what do you mean Man Simchas? Jew is zufrieden mit dem Zweiten. Which is, by the way, not a bad pilus. That's probably the philosopher pilus. There's a deeper pilus in Man Simchas. That the father is happy with the son, and the son is happy with the father. So now, so it's Beir Negalgil and Nive Otto. So it's a special time. So Sukkot is a special time. And from the language that Alter Rebbe uses, it seems that Sukkot is greater than Rosh Hashanah. Because Sukkot is the preparation for Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the big event. Excuse me, Sukkot is the big event. And Rosh Hashanah is only Bakese Le'yem Chagenu. The Yem Chagenu is Man Simchas is now. Now is the time was Hayid, Freitag mit dem Eibischen und Freitag mit Diden. It's Ben Chochem Yisamachov. L'chaim, let's continue on the song L'chaim. Sometimes it's difficult to say L'chaim if you're a little dry. Then, aber the song L'chaim wird ein bisschen freiwillig. L'chaim. So must this. If you're my bad, I get Biscuit. Fishman of sheer. They not given a sheer fishman. Yeah, I get one. You actually fish me. And I Hey, the door. Better. Yeah. Right, let's go. You're thinking about the ready to school.
Was jeder Typ beginnen mit die Yeshiva bei der Kasse. So wie gesagt, Kasse gehabt. Es ist Yeshiva bei der Woche.
Ja.
We seen with some master with a but you saw some here. And it seems like it's very simple. It doesn't work that way. Simcha, it says, is one of the most difficult things to get to. Why? Because you can force everything. In the building, I can't learn that. That's one thing that he doesn't want to learn. I heard that in my days, there was a father that had trouble with a kid. Ik wil even gieten with him. Doesn't anything that so. In other words, sneak well, you can fix, you can learn. Even if you don't want to. We will need davenen. Simcha, you can't force yourself. There's no way. Simcha is a toyas nefesh. The nefesh has to be somewhere. So therefore, are you going to dance in the screen? It's not simcha. And it probably says in lots of I don't mean you. Don't dance schleiten und dance auf dem Tisch. Say that's not simcha. Simcha is a toyas nefesh. If it's be'etzem besimcha. So that's not so simple. That was a machbah bechagecha is a very, very tall order. I'm not saying you can't get it. You know, I can only maybe speak for myself. It's a big order that hatoyas and nefesh, the nefesh will be sameach. The nefesh should be sameach. Not only sameach, Rabbi Hashem, have a family, which is wonderful. He has to be sameach with nebesten. So that's a special target. However, since we won bones in the Chalaya, that we can get there. So that we can get to the Visamachta Bechagecho. There's whatever. So in other words, it's not that just we're asked to do something that's impossible. It's not impossible, it is absolutely possible. And that because if it would not be possible, it would not be a mitzvah on everybody. Visamachta Bechagecho. With all the connotations that this has. So B'meila, this is a special time of Simcha, of Mizorg L'chaim. Maybe sometimes it takes once, maybe it takes again, but we will get there. L'chaim.
Rabbi, it's interesting. It says in Moshe Yochid, you should be Sanah, or Yisach, right?
Amen.
Something to that, no?
Right. Und Efshe is a pshat. I think that Alter Rebbe says it on Kaddish Atzmecha. The Rebbe used to speak a lot about Kaddish Atzmecha b'mutadloch. Und the pshat is v'chsidim v'his kaddishtem v'yiskim kiddushim. What does that mean? What does v'his kaddishtem v'yiskim kiddushim mean? Simple English. No. V'his kaddishtem means if we do only v'his kaddishtem v'yiskim kiddushim, then we're going to become. So in other words, if we do what we have to, then you're gonna get there. Now I can promise you're gonna get there at this moment or a minute later. However, you're going to get there. Mentioned before of Verbringen, that the Rebbe used to verbring the night. We'll get there soon. And every year, from what I remember, we'd always say, and he would say, Lechela, the Loshen, it's so the if you want to tell us that the biggest Simcha is Simchas Beis Hashueva, it should have said, Simchas Beis Hashueva is Simcha Achik Leilo. Here it says in almost in a negative way. He says, because you're dealing with Jews, and there can be some smart aleck Jews, some places in the back, and he says, you're going to tell me about Simcha Beis that I never saw a Simcha? I saw many Simchas. I went to a Chassan, and I went to a Beis, and I went to a Bar Mitzvah, and then sometimes she was a little older, sometimes he was older, sometimes the Beis didn't come in 9 months. So there was a big Simcha, so I saw a big Simcha. So what are you telling me? That the Gemara wants to tell us that the Simcha that you think that you were, that's not a real Simcha. It's a Simcha. Not to say a Jew makes a wedding, it's a Simcha. But to say that that's a real Simcha, then is the question why? Why? What's so special about Simchas Beis Hashueva? Then the answer is this: everybody knows that. I'm going to tell you any chidushim. That Simchas Beis Hashueva is a simcha of mayim, as opposed to a simcha of yayin. Yayin is something that you can understand. A Jew, if he is besimcha because he understands, then the simcha is limited. Why? Because his seichel is limited. Besides the people who are sitting here, but the seichel is limited. How much seichel do we have already? We think, the seichel is limited. That's our understanding. Can a Jew be happy beyond his seichel? That's not what it's called for. That's not what generally. If it's a chasna, I'm going to dance as much as I think it's a simcha, a chasna, a mitzvah, whatever, a ben zochel. But I'm not going to dance beyond my seichel because that's not called for. However, what's nisuch mayim? Mayim is kabbalah seichel from seichel. Let's say one is going to say, if you're going to compare wine to water, there's no comparison. Tell you a bottle of water you can get for the sink, right? For nothing, just about. If you pay your water taxes, but a bottle of wine you can get from the sink. So can you make kiddush on water? Absolutely not. So therefore, what's more choshuv? Yayin. So if there's nisuch hayayin and nisuch hamayim, simple in simple logic, yayin is more choshuv. So we say like this: if when there is simchas hayayin, that's what a measure. Yayin not special. And the Rabbi explains, and as probably said we've seen this many times, that this is Kabbalah sale that is beyond our understanding. So this is what happened in the Beis Hamikdash, that they were happy that there's a connection that we have with Nebuchadnezzar that goes beyond our understanding. Not how much we can understand, much more, because how much can we understand already? It goes beyond. And with this, the Rebbe explains there's a Mishnah in Sukkah, in Lulav, there's a Mishnah that the one who would pour the water, you would say to him, Hak beyodecho. You should pour it loudly. You should see what you're doing. And Foshim say they should see how it's pouring, because there was a story with a Sduki. The Rebbe explains what happened here. Well, this is the Sduki in Beis Hamikdash. This Sduki said, I don't understand what you're telling me to do. If you're talking to me about the yayin, then I can understand. I have to do the mitzvah that I understand. So that's what I'm going to do. But if you're talking to me about mine, something that I don't understand, you're like Al Gabi Laglo. He didn't do it on the Mizbeach. He has no connection with it. And that's what he said, I have nothing, I have no connection. So that's why he was basic, the water, Al Gabi Laglo. Why? Because he didn't understand Kabbalah sale. He only understood Yayin. Mayri didn't understand, but beyond our seichel, the Tzaddik didn't understand, because in their mind, it's only something we can understand. So now the Simcha isn't something in much higher than we can understand. And that's why it was Misha Lelo, Simcha Beis Hashueva, Lelo Simcha Meyoma, because the Simcha that we saw before is only a Simcha of Yayin. And it's completely out of proportion to the Simcha that we see now, and other the Simcha of Mayim. L'chaim, there was also another great thing in Simchat Beis Hashueva. What did we do Simchat Beis Hashueva? Besides the water, they lit up Yerushalayim. And the Gemara says, Shelahoyo chotzer b'Yerushalayim, shelahoyso mu'eres, v'sme'er shel Simchat Beis Hashueva. To the extent that Aisha was able to be beilel chitim, in other words, it was with a great light, lights that you never saw before. Not just light we should be able to see, we shouldn't sit in the darkness. Light completely out of proportion. So in other words, it was not only a simcha, it was also a simcha with light. It's a simcha that gave everybody Ruach HaKodesh. The Gemara that Yena got the Ruach HaKodesh. The Rebbe asks the Gemara says that Shmuel ben Hananiah said, and then later the Gemara says, what does this mean? The halacha is, if somebody says that he's not going to sleep for 3 nights, right? What's the halacha? In other words, you give him malchus and you say to him, why? Because you ask for something that you can't do. You can't be up for 7 days, for 3 days without sleeping. The only one I can tell you that we saw that was up without sleeping is only our Rebbe. Rebbe didn't sleep. I mean, serious. He didn't sleep. I can't, like, as goes like this. Schlafen, Mislal, the halacha is you have to sleep only in the sukkah. That's the halacha. And sleeping in the sukkah cannot because the makif and the bina, whatever that means, I don't know. But the akif and the bina don't let you sleep, so you can't sleep in the sukkah. So what are we going to do? You can't sleep outside of the sukkah, and you can't sleep in the sukkah. So they say that the Rebbe was up, but we're talking about the Rebbe. We're not talking about everyone. Everyone else cannot do that. So the mother says that they were sleeping at kat for the chavod. They were sleeping like to amnu tam shin. The time of Shina they didn't taste. However, they lived with the Simcha Beis Hashueva, which means that we are told that there is something in Simchas Beis Hashueva that we can get. There's something there for us. It's not that easy. Okay, no, this is what we have. This is what we have to say in Sei L'chaim and have to be Mesameach the Simchas Beis Hashueva. So that sein Gesundheit und Fröhlichkeit und so nimmt werden that we should be able to taste the same.
La sella,
You had a cousin, Shinitonovas, yeah? when I would whenever he would see me for years, with him, he says, I have to tell you a story. Like I had the mindset for but he told me the story all the time. He remembered because he was older. And they would say about Azar Domed, they would say about Chassidim, I heard it from my father many times, he was Russian, that the Yontiv of his Nefesh was Sukkot. Why? For the simple reason. You can make a minion in the basement, but the asphyxia shouldn't know, but you can't make a sukkah in the basement. A sukkah you have to make in a place where you can see. So therefore, even like there's no sukkah, you get sitter, because you never know, and they can get arrested. The Tata for example, going to eat a rich golden, I'm not that I'm okay. A rich golden bij hem gewend sukkahs, even kriegen een sukkah, en zingen de liegen, a sukkah clean, and effects are kissing, because he knew that sukkahs is a every moment you sit in the sukkah, you can get arrested. But which and nothing else. You can do everything in a basement. You can be everything that nobody should see. Sukkot you can't do it. So Sukkot was over from the citizens. Why am I telling you? Because he would tell me the story of Sukkot, which I don't remember, but he did because he was older. It was the Sukkot in Lembe of 1946, Lembe was a lot of Anash that were in Limburg. If you remember the story with Eshalonen that left Limburg,
No one knows.
What? Okay, but that's a story for another day. That's not what I want to tell you. But so Limburg, there was a few hundred Eden, and it was 1946. It's right after the war, and everybody said you can build a sukkah because Limburg is in then today it's Ukraine, the same. It was in Russian territory, and they don't at the moment they're gonna say they said look what the Jews did. Nobody had a permit. Nobody had to be because you were supposed to be Polish and this. I can't say you said the kid said, what are we gonna do? Everybody's worried. My father used to tell the story that he had a neighbor. The neighbor had a gaze in the Shmuel Kislava. And the room that we had a porch that you can go out, a porch like they do in Europe, where the goyim in Europe put flowers on. So it's like it's not a porch that you can sit on, but the Shmuel Kislava measured the porch.
Oh, nice.
And he measured the porch, and the halacha is that I'm Dr. Soffel, that the halacha has to be 7 So he measured the porch, and it was 7 Then he measured the gate on the porch, and the gate was 10 So the Tata would say that the day he went up on the marketplace and he bought some straw, so he covered it, right? My mother had an Alpen Chimadan from the Rusland, so that Chimadan served as a table.
And the suitcase.
And a table, a white handbag, I still remember that handbag, I still remember. And that served as the tablecloth. And when you went into the sukkah, hundreds of Jews have gegessen in that sukkah. And I must tell you, there maybe they felt Simchas Beis Hashueva, because they felt the nefesh of eating in a sukkah. Reb Shneur Daro, der Tate versorgen, that Reb Shmuel Notek hat ihm gedankt, ewig. And Welwolf hat mir allemaal erzählt die Meise. And the last few years, when he would tell me the story, he would cry. And his kids told me that the last time that he was in this world, that the Seil de Meise had geweint with Moishov. I mean, that was Mesilas Nefesh. That was real Mesilas Nefesh of a sukkah. Well, Hashem, today we don't need it. There are other forms of Mesilas Nefesh. Someone is going to ask a question. Something he would say. Maybe I would like that kind of Mesilas Nefesh. Today, I don't have Mesilas Nefesh for sukkah. So what do you want me to do? The guy likes me. Not only that, the government protects you. You have police outside, right? But Hashem, I have no Mesilas Nefesh. So the Friedrich Rebbe writes one word in a Maimon that he says there is a chosuk in Yirmiyah. Yirmiyah Novi said, "Ein nafshi el ha'omazeh." So Rashi ein word nafshi. That's saying, come the Friedrich Rebbe and he says, Rashi says, "Ein nafshi el ha'omazeh." Nafshi that's saying, then Mesilas Nefesh is Mesilas Haratzon. You can do Mesilas Nefesh today. Don't do what you want. Do what's enough. So you don't have any sort of sniffers that he and Asuka are going to arrest you. So they're not going to arrest you. And there's so many things that you can do. You can do chitas, you can do rambam, you can do many things without and for the right thing. See, that's which, by the way, is more difficult than it was. Never says in a moment, you can check the moment is out of the tzaveh, that you saw Jews that were what they were. And I can say that I saw it myself. You saw Jews that they went to Mesilas Nefesh in Samarkand or any place. And Baruch Hashem spent an English geholfen. They came to and it's not the same. It's not the same people. No Mesilas Nefesh, no nothing. Everything is gone. Why? Because it's because the difficulty of the Golus that was a Talush Golus from Mesilas Nefesh. So therefore, today there could be sometimes that's even more difficult. This is why Shlomo Melech said, I don't want you to give me riches, and I don't want you to give me poverty. Why? Because riches is the same in the soil as poverty. Therefore, I don't want either in the soil. So now, Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe said, we can have a sukkah, and we don't have to be afraid of the government. But the question, however, is, do we feel the Simchas Beis Hashueva like we felt it in Samarkand or in any other country? And the Rebbe says, by the way, Nasicha, I don't know if you paid attention to it. All the Jewish community was poverty-stricken. I can't say I remember it, but to say that a mother had a piece of challah for every kid on Shabbos was a big thing. There was and a piece of fish was like, they told the story of Geisen der Rebbe of Herschel. They given the Rebbe from the Shach from Shulchan Aruch. And he was a very, very sharp kid. In his house, it was great poverty, but his mother worked the whole week on one thing, that she should be able to give Friday night every child a shtickle fish. Every child should get their own fish. And when it ever happened, she was able to give all the children a shtickle fish Friday night. She was the happiest woman in the world. Why? Because there was poverty. So once the story goes, she prepared a piece of fish for everyone. And Friday before Lilvention, she checked the pot again to see whether all the pieces are there. She checks the pot and there's one piece that's missing. 12 shtickle fish. She prepared 7 pieces, now it's only 6. So she calls up Herscheler, and she says, Herscheler, can you tell me what happened over here? There's one piece of fish that's missing. He says, Ma, ich hab es genommen. Was hast du genommen? So he says, you don't know? It said there's a Yiddish minig for Yamel Chaim Zochum. And Polish and Hungarian Jews say, Toyamel Chaim Suchi. Chaim Suchi is a ganze Meise in Williamsburg, but the first Friday, a ganze Meise. Well, in the Bible, I never heard about it, but it does say Chaim Zochum. So then she says to him, so why did you take the biggest piece? She says, Ma, not them steak. So I took so there's a story that in the days of the Rebbe Nishmasin, that we can all relate to. Another man came into the house. You know what he wanted? Kopke. You know what a kopke means? If you take a ruble and you divide it into 100, it comes out a kopke. He wanted a kopke. And the Rebbe Nishmasin motioned to the Rebbetzin that he doesn't have. And you know what's going to happen here? Another man came into the house, and we're going to let him out without giving him just any time. So it could happen over here, something that we absolutely don't want. But she was a smart woman. She grabbed a piece of paper, not a napkin. She didn't have a napkin, some paper of newspaper, and she took a piece of challah, and she wrapped it in, and she gave it to the other man. And the other man took it. And the Rebbe Shushain broke out in a big smile. Why? Because there was such poverty, so they went in Kopf kein Stub. There wasn't a penny in the house. And the Rebbe says in Baruch Hashem, today you look at the Jewish community, you're not going to tell you that yet, but everybody has fish of Shabbos, Baruch Hashem, and a piece of kugel for Baruch Hashem. How come this phenomenon in this world exists? And the Rebbe says, why? Because Mashiach is coming. And this is part of the Gilui of Mashiach. that the day Baruch Hashem, all Jews throughout the world have Parnasa. And the Rebbe even says in that moment, there's Halchova today. There's Halchova, not relative Halchova, Baruch Hashem Halchova, which you didn't have them all. And that is also because Mashiach is coming, says the same thing. But people that didn't pay attention. Millions of Jews came to Eretz Yisrael. What happened all of a sudden? So they're going to tell you all kinds of stories. The government of Russia, that's not the reason. It's because Mashiach is coming, and we already have the Nisim of Mashiach, because it's already after Chatzis of the 7th day. So therefore, this is part of the Nisim of Mashiach, that the Jews of Russia came out, that Yidden, Baruch Hashem, throughout the world have Parnasa, and that not only that, the third thing is, the day the matzav in the ganze Welt, different than we know through, if you look through history. The day the matzav that any place in the world a Jew wants to be a Jew, he could be any place in the world. I'm not even sure there is a place where you can say a Jew cannot be a Shem Shabbos, whatever, every place. Why is that? It's not because of the different government, they're afraid. That's not the reason. The reason is because Mashiach is coming. And this is part of the Giluim of Mashiach that we already see the very moment. So the only thing is that Rachvis and Ashiras, Baruch Hashem, comes also with a price. But sometimes we feel that maybe we deserve it. Hey, after, my grandfather didn't have it. You know why? I don't know, but I have it. So therefore, that makes the Simchas Beis Hashueva much more difficult, because the goy shleitnit, and I don't need Mesilas Nefesh for Simchas Beis Hashueva. So therefore, it's only the goy asher b'kirbecha, and that's a goy that's not so easy to deal with. I don't know about you. So this is the feel of Simchas Beis Hashueva, of lo amnu tam shina, not to have anything to do with shina, but to taste the Simcha. This the went forth from the days of Simcha that's zwischen the Meibischen und Jeden. L'chaim.
Solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile. Mashiach solchen kommen, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile. Mashiach solchen. Ay, 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 ay. Solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile. Mashiach solchen kommen, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile. Mashiach solchen kommen, ay, 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 solchen sein die Gile. Solchen sein die Gile, Mashiach solchen kommen, solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile, solchen kommen, ay, 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 Solchen sein die Gile, solchen sein die Gile, solchen. Mashiach, oh, man, yeah, social time social time social time go man, social time Mashiach doesn't go man, ay, 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 Mashiach Hashem Kumen.
My father, Allah Shalom, told him living Yitzchak, that his father. Why am I telling this? The Levi Yitzchak told him a story. The Levi Yitzchak said he tells this story every Sukkot. Agav, there's a svara, and I'm not throwing this out. You can think. The Levi Yitzchak was a grandson of the Levi Yitzchak of Aldichet. Why? That's how the theory goes. You can argue. When the Bnei Tzemach Tzedek, the Baruch Shalom named one of his sons Levi Yitzchak. None of the Bnei Tzemach sons Levi Yitzchak. And therefore, there's also another mystery. It's not known who the wife of the Baruch Shalom was. So the story is that she was from that family. And this is why, okay, but that's a separate thing. But he told him this story. And he said that he tells the story Yeda Sukkot. That in the town of Baldichet, it was the night before Sukkot, and there is no Esligan. The Levi not have an Esligan Lulu. You can imagine, in great agony. So he tells the people they should go out on the road, on the Chaussee. The Chaussee is the road that leads from Baldichet to other. Maybe they'll find a Jew that's traveling. And all they have to find out is if he has a Eskalulav, they should bring it to him. Because they stood on the road, he found such a Jew. And they schlepped him into the Levi Yitzchak. And the Levi Yitzchak says to him, and he has an Eskalulav. And he says to him, if you stay with me for Sukkot, I promise you a family. And the man says, Rebbe, have a family. And now I want to take my Eskalulav and go home to my wife and children to celebrate this.
Yeah, we should.
So the Jew says, the Levi says to him, if you stay with me, I promise you a shilas. And the Jew says, Rebbe, I have a shilas. And because of that, I was able to buy got money. As I can rule generally, I give it for shtetl. So Baruch Hashem. So now the Levi says to him, if you stay with me for Sukkot, I promise you, give me bin chitzasi. Now, Imi bin Chitzasi, no one with the Levi Yitzchak, I can't even tell you what it is, but it means Gan Eden, the same compartment with the Levi Yitzchak, no one can say no to that. They agree. So, but he doesn't have where to stay. He doesn't have where to eat. Not so okay. He was hoping that somebody in Shul is going to invite him. The Kitzah, it's the first night of Sukkot, and the Jews are getting out of Shul one by one. The last Jew left the Shul. And he's left alone in Shul. No one invites him. So he goes out and he sees a sukkah. So he knocks on the door and he asks them, maybe you can let me in. He says to him, Gates him low. Gates him low. He goes to the second sukkah, the same story, Gates him low. Goes to the third sukkah, Gates him low. He comes to the Levi Yitzchak and he says, Rebbe, is this fair? I stayed here for you. And now you told everybody not to let me into their sukkah. So the Levi Yitzchak says to him, listen, you can go into the sukkah, but I need something from you. That you should you should forgive me on the promise of Ibi ben Chitzasi. If you promise me that you forgive me the promise, then I'll let you into any sukkah you want. My father used to tell the story, and he would say it came to this part. Der Rebbe's father, the Levi Yitzchak, du gave him die Hand und gesagt, der Ido gegeben mal geschrei, was mir Ibi ben Chitzasi, a sukkah darf ich haben. And then the Rabbi Yitzchak said to him, no, you can go in, it's okay. You want? No, not a problem. After Sukkot, the Rabbi Yitzchak calls him back. And he says, I know you're wondering, what happened here? And then I forced you to give it out. What happened here? So let me tell you, you wanted Imi ben Chitzasi with me, but you didn't really deserve Imi ben Chitzasi. For whatever it is, you're a simple Jew. You didn't deserve Imi ben Chitzasi. But now that you gave away Imi ben Chitzasi for the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah, now you deserve it, and now I'm giving you back my promise of Imi ben Chitzasi. As mentioned, my father used to say this, that you hear the story of the Rabbi Yitzchak, and the Rabbi Yitzchak heard said that he would say the story every Sukkot. L'chaim, 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 l'chaim.
Oh, yada, 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 yada.
That the Rosh Hashanah is a hafana to Sukkot, which you can't only say it's only a hafana to Simchas Beis Hashueva. For Simchas Hashueva is not all of Sukkot. The tachlis on Sukkot is Shmini Atzis and Simchas Torah. That's it's 1 day here, it's 2 days. So the Rebbe says, what happens on Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah? That's the shlemus. Layim Chagenu, Simchas Beis Hashueva is only the hachone to Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. So the real Yom Chagenu is on Shmini Atzeres by those 2 days, and that's a shloel 1 day. That is the tachlis hashlemus from Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And this is when the Ben Chochom really sees the Father, even suppose for whatever reason, until Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, he sees him. When there was a Fabelingen downstairs, given a Chassid was against the Yecheskel Springer. Any relative to anybody? The Yecheskel Springer, each Springer is an elder brother. Shalom Jacobson, anybody know? Shalom Jacobson.
Yeah, I know.
It starts with the story before. And that story I remember a little bit of Simchas Torah, of Yud Zion. And Shmuel Galali was here. And I'm gonna eat a nugget, and so Simchas Torah to say maybe maybe he said L'chaim. So he says that and everybody heard that he says L'chaim, but the Tzedel Dike was on Gewol kommen und man nicht gekannt kommen. So the Rebbe answers him, L'chaim for the Etzlok, the Kedach Zayin, and all was an Indian. He was like, oh, it was too much, you know. I mean, for like such a bitush. So the Rebbe said that Tzemach Tzedek hat einmal gesagt, als ich bin als wie ein Kirchner. Der Kirchner ist ein Hatmaker. Also ich mag die Hitler. Und wenn man die Hitler passt das. The Rebbe wanted to ease the. So Chatzkel Springer heard that the others is slow to get that are here and didn't come. 2 years later, or 3 years later, he comes. And then there was the Seder that you went into Yechidus 2 times. One when you came, that was like Sholem, and then the big Yechidus was Noxin Fastera. So he comes into Yechidus, the Rebbe looks at the zettel and doesn't look at him. The Rebbe guckt nicht auf him. He comes out, he asks the Rebbe guckt auf dir, yeah, he guckt auf dir, yeah. The Rebbe didn't look at him. And then, ik ben nog steeds Shalit, so he said to himself, was dat Rebbe niet geguckt auf mir? Want ik ben niet gekomen. Why should the Rebbe look at me? I'm not here. He reminded himself, and they probably worked on himself. It was Shabbos afternoon. The Rebbe Verbracht were now to make the sukkah. It was very, very crowded and so on. The mice and trouble, whatever. And noch einmal, the Rebbe had me gesungen an Nigen, and the Rebbe had me Ehre given. And in the middle of that Nigen, Chatzkel Springer felt that he came, he landed, and Yom he came, as angekommen, Baruch Hashem. The moment the Nigen was over, the Rebbe says, "Who Springer von Kfar Chabad? Soll sagen L'chaim."
Oh, you're right.
So Said was angekommen. You know, we have to get there. Remember, talking about the story of the Samchita Sheet and said that this is absolutely mind-boggling. First of all, the Rebbe noticed that you could be here and you could come to the Fabling and then you're not here. Forget about you. I'm sure you're here all the time. No question about it. As you say in English, present company excluded. Well, it could happen. It's kind of so nicht passieren. You know, wie viel man sagen, in Malabatischkeit holt das an. It could happen. So we have to come. Not only that we should be here because we should be here. So Simchas Torah is just about the last stop. Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah. The Rebbe says, and it's nothing new. The Rebbe says L'chele, it should have been the Seder that we should say that we should learn a few hours. Und wir kochen sich voneinander in Länder mit aller Landes, mit dem groben Finger. And später tanzen mit Simchas Hashueva because we feel the Simcha. But we don't do that. We dance mit der vermachten Mentale. Like they tell the story in Lite, I didn't see it by Chassidim, but they tell a nice story. Als in Lite haben die Lehm, die Tere, haben getanzt. And with them there was a simple dance. So one of the big Lomdim was getracht that the Rebbe owes him the whole world, says to him, wo stand still? What are you dancing? I, I'm dancing. And pray, you dancing. So they tell the story that this Jew said to him, tell me, if your brother marries off a daughter, do you dance at the wedding? First he didn't understand where he went to. He says, about that, gewiss. He says, so I am dancing at the simcha of my brother. So we're all brothers, so I'm dancing at your wedding. What's wrong? Well, it's not really that way. It's much deeper than that. That simple Jew in Lita didn't dance on somebody else's simcha. He danced at his own simcha. But the nation of Taylor is his, just like it's anyone else's. And to prove it, the mentally is closed. We don't learn before. If you want to make a cheshbon that I didn't learn enough, maybe I should learn more. Maybe that's a good cheshbon, but that's not for now. Now you make the cheshbon that does the Mebishton Simcha, and you are a Jew. It's your Simcha. The Rebbe is happy with you, and you are happy with him, and you're dancing in the Simcha. Now says the Rebbe, the Taylor wants to dance in Simchas Torah, but the Taylor can't dance. You know why? Ze had niet gefrist. We kennen het aan fris. Ze werd gebracht om zich zitten. Dat is een mile of the regel over the reish. Why the reish can be as smart as you want, but the reish can't come from one place to the other. If the reish wants to come to one place to the other, he needs the regel to bring him. So therefore, there's a mile. Moshe Rabbeinu said, the ugly home, there's a big mile. They can get things done. So by Mele, what happens at Simchas Torah, there's a fusion. A fusion means that there's a colorless, there is an achdus between the Jew and the Torah. The Jew is carrying the Torah, and he is the feet and the legs for the Torah, so the Torah can dance. You don't say it good. Comes the Rebbe and he says, wait a minute. The Jew, so who is the head? The tailor. I'm only the feet, right? All of us. Forget about you. I'm the feet, nothing. Only the feet. So therefore, then you have to make sure that you have to conduct yourself according to the age. If you were going to think which is my say, Simchas, and then I'm going to do whatever I want, then that's not what it's all about. So Simchas Torah is something that the Torah is the age. We are the regel. But the Reish means that the goof and everything else and the heart and everything should go in accordance to the Reish. Then there's a healthy body. The Alter Rebbe says in Daniel many times. So the middle of L'chaim, but I'm going to tell you a story before I leave. L'chaim. I don't know if the Rebbe heard the story when he was told the story, but you saw in the Rebbe a big Zufriedenkeit. Gewinner Yid in Crown Heights against Naviation and Gordon. They went to Gabba. And he would sell on every year Shabbos Pastors Mishpotim in Kesef Talve, and the Rebbe would tell him to wear a streimel, and as talking of, and as al Gatzin La Maisa. Nicht a Maisa, as a Lepesorgen. And one year he told this story, and you saw after that, I can't tell you that I didn't know the story that I can tell you, but it was a great Zufriedenkeit. And the story has to do with Sukkot. Has to do with the Hilul Padishah. Mentioned before that in the olden days, I remember the Yale, I don't know if you ever heard it. He says, "Sie gewinnen ein Jahr, ein Zion, ein Volk. Sie gewinnen Lubavitch, sie gewinnen ein Essig. Wer gab dem Essig? Der Rebbe nicht mehr sehen. Und der Meaning ist, dass Thomas da ein Essig in Shul, wer hat dem Essig zu Hallel? The Chazan, right? So the Rebbe nicht mehr sehen, gewinnt der Chazan. Also ich habe ihm gesagt, Modern Lubavitch gewinnt ein Essig in Lulav, und Rebbe nicht mehr sehen, gewinnt der Chazan. And he says, and some Nuschois we learn from there. So this is in Padich. Either in Padich or the Hill Padich against später da in Babluisk. So one of the two cities. Wer hat gehabt der Essig in Lulav? Der gewinnt von Stettel. He was able to afford, so there was one Essig in Lulav. And the Yale loved this story. In fact, I don't remember that Rebbe mentioned the story. He said like this: the Yale made a cheshbon how long it's going to take him to go in the morning from his house to the mikveh, and how long it's going to take him to be in the mikveh, and how long it's going to take him to go from the mikveh to the Gvir's house. So he should be 5:01 was the first time where you can bench Essex. At 5:01 in the morning, he should be by Gvir's too. And so he did, and I clapped him there, and the Gvir's laughed. But what else he want him to do? It's laughed. Rebbe, what's his? He said, nothing. I will bench that second little. And the Gvir's spoke to him. Because he's the Lord given him out to lead. And then he would tell, and he tell everybody the story. Somebody would come 9 o'clock and would say, nice to see you. 9 o'clock, you should have seen the Lord was here at 5:01 in the morning. He told the story to everyone. In Stott, given noch hello. The Viechenen didn't say it in so many words. Ich bin am Misnag der Shalom. In like many steht Städtler, ich bin Feier about it. Offiziell, wenn ich see the Shalom, but I'm Misnag der Shalom. The Misnag der Shalom couldn't take this COVID that the Gvil got, that the Gvil spoke about him. So next morning, he did the same thing. Maybe he came 5:02. Next morning, he's also here. On that bench, the Gvil received him very nicely. Yeah, thank you. Give him a place, maybe give him a call, whatever. But he didn't tell one single person about it. Nobody in the city. Not them. The Shalom said to them, the Viechner told the Rebbe the story. Says to him, I don't understand. The first day, you told the whole shtetl about it. I did the same thing the second day, and you didn't tell a single person. So the Gvir says to him, Hetzachan. Gekommen, weil Shonu b'mitzvei sol v'tzivon. Und ihr seid gekommen, weil Cain also healed him. And everybody said, when they told the story, there was a great sense of Zufriedenkeit. They told them they didn't know the story, I don't know, but there was a real open Zufriedenkeit. Oh, L'chaim, it's past my, L'chaim.
I know.